Okay. Good morning, everyone. I think it was about 2 weeks ago, Helena gave a message. I believe it was called "Come to the Table." Did you guys all? Were you either here or have you heard the message? Yeah. Okay. If you haven't, I highly recommend that you do. It's very profound and very indicative of where we are right now and the amazing things the Lord is laying out for us, right? So, to summarize it in a nutshell, the Lord has laid a table for us, a banquet, a feast. And we're all invited to go and feast.
Hallelujah.
At this table. Okay, I'm going to come back. That is the sort of response I'm looking for. I'll come back to that. That's very good, Paul. We're invited to join the Lord at His table for a banquet, right? And when Helena saw that table, it was full of amazing fruits and all sorts of goodies, right? And this table represents things for us. It's not necessarily food, but it's things like provision. It's things like blessing. I was told it represents things like desires of your heart. And even more and above that, what this table represents is what is mentioned in 1 Corinthians 2:9. But as it is written, eye has not seen nor ear heard, nor have entered into the heart of man the things which God has prepared for those who love Him. Okay, that is what this table represents. That's what it has for us. There are things there that we cannot possibly comprehend, things that no one knows about. And we're invited to go and eat at that table. However, in order to get to that table, you have to cross the bridge. The bridge being trust, and whatever it is that this bridge crosses. Alright, so in most cases the bridge crosses a deep ravine or a valley or a river. In our case, what that means is that the bridge crosses our soul. Alright, when we approach that table with trust and a deep trust in the Lord and a trust that comes from the heart, what we have to do is we have to overcome our soul to get to that place. And it's not so much that the soul is a bad thing, it's not. But the soul is definitely plagued by bad things. It's plagued by fear, it's plagued by doubt, it's plagued by unbelief. And these are the things that prevent us from crossing the bridge to get to that table. Alright? When we look at Revelation 2:7, it says, "He who has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the churches. To him who overcomes, I will give to eat from the tree of life, which is in the midst of the paradise of God." By crossing that bridge, we are overcoming. And once we overcome, we get to eat from the tree of life. We get to eat whatever it is that's on that table. Alright? Now, the wonderful and amazing thing is that anything you need and anything you may want within reason is available on this table, whether it is for you or anyone else. But the last, I don't know, I can't put a cap on it, but the last few years of teachings, whether it be on trust, whether it be on the heart, all the amazing things we've learnt in here, dealing with judgments, dealing with, you guys know, everything we have learnt has brought us to this point, to prepare us to cross over that bridge. Okay? So that is available to us right now. Now, I know as well that if anyone had already crossed that bridge, we would know about it. Because there would be amazing miracles, there would be amazing testimonies, and more likely than not, this person would be utterly transformed. Alright, they would stick out amazingly. So I'm fairly sure that no one's crossed that bridge yet, and then that includes me. But I'm working very, very, very hard to cross that bridge. And what I want to do today is I want to encourage you all to start taking steps to cross that bridge. Alright? Again, as Helena mentioned last time, this is a paradigm shift. This is a it's a whole new way of doing things. All right, it's a whole new way of doing things represented by the new things that we're getting into. God's doing a new thing, and the old ways are not going to work with the new thing that God wants to do. All right, we're dealing with the heart now. And it is with the heart that we're going to cross that bridge with a deep and open trust. And once we get to that table, we get to feast. As we get to feast, we will definitely have all our issues and our problems addressed and issued, but we're also going to transform in our own lives, possibly even in our own bodies. I don't want to put any limits on it. I don't know the full limits of what's on this table, but I can imagine it's going to be truly spectacular. Now, we've learnt a lot about the heart, and one thing I will tell you is this. The heart has its own mind, as you know. It has its own ways, its own thoughts, its own opinions. The heart is going to want to cling to its own ways, okay? Regardless of what God's calling us into and the new thing that God is doing, the heart is going to want to do what it knows is best. Even though it may not, even though it may be entirely wrong and ill-informed, the heart's going to want to do what it believes is best. Meaning that we are going to cling to our old ways, and we are going to hammer our old ways as much as possible to step into the new thing that God has called us into. Alright? And that's what we have to step away from. If you guys want to cross this bridge, what we have to do now is we have to start training our hearts to trust the Lord. Alright? Psalm 28:7, my heart trusted in Him and I am helped. It's when your heart trusts Him that things start to happen. It's when your heart trusts Him that you start crossing the bridge. Alright? So you've got to do whatever it takes to get your heart to open up to Him. Okay? Because by and large, regardless of where we're at, our hearts are very defensive things. They're very protective of themselves because they're easily hurt. More often than not, they are clammed up and they are closed. Alright? Some are softer than others. Some are even really quite badly damaged, and they it takes a bit of work to get them to open up. But we have to take the measures, and we have to make the effort necessary to start opening up our hearts to the Lord so that we can start crossing the bridge. The irony about all of this is the healing that your heart needs is very often on the table. Okay? You have to get to the table in order to get the healing that you need for your heart. So when you need your damaged heart to cross this bridge in trust, to get the healing that it needs. So at the beginning, at least, we're in a bit of a slightly difficult position because it can sometimes be a little bit difficult to cross that bridge. It can be difficult to trust the Lord to get what you need. But once you cross that bridge, once you get to the table and you get what you need, things are going to improve dramatically and the healing will come speedily. Okay? So this is about training your heart and teaching your heart that the old ways are not necessarily bad, but they're just old and it's time to move into the new. You've got to learn to do whatever it takes to get your heart to soften up and open up to the Lord. Alright? The one thing, I have managed to creep up on this table once or twice, right? Actually more than that. And what I've discovered is this. You do whatever it takes to get your heart to trust the Lord. And when you get to that point, you are utterly and completely convinced that the Lord is going to help you with whatever it is you've called Him for. Whatever you've approached Him with, right? Whatever need that you have. When you build your trust in Him to such an extent that you are convinced without doubt that He's going to help you, that's when things start happening. That's when you're actually at the table, right? And then the Lord starts engaging you. So I've mentioned the testimony a few times about the issues we have with Gracie on occasion. She gets really severely attacked. And now, these attacks used to happen at night while she was asleep. Now they're starting to happen during the day. And they are severe. I won't get into the gritty detail, but they are severe. It's just unbelievable. But what I've learnt is to sit in peace, focus on the Lord, and just trust Him to help her. I don't know what demons are involved. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what the door is. I don't know anything. And the beautiful part about all of this is, I don't need to know. All I need to do is trust Him to help her. And He comes. He comes. He comes not in my power and my authority, or the power and authority He's given me, but He comes in His own power and His own authority, and He deals with the situation. And when He comes, bang, she is released from 1 second to the next. And it's amazing. And then she starts recovering, and you can tell she's a bit shell-shocked because she doesn't know what happened. So sometimes when we deal with spiritual matters, when you trust the Lord to help you, it happens just like that. When it comes to other things like finances or jobs or health, it requires something else. And what I've discovered is this, that when I engage with the Lord for any of these things, what He'll often try to do now is He'll wake me up in the middle of the night to talk about these things. Alright? So what He's trying to do, because Psalm 28:7 says, "My heart trusted in Him and I'm helped." He doesn't give you what you want. He doesn't promise to give you what you want. He promises to help you. And to help you could involve anything. Alright? So I know some of us like fasting, some of us like focusing on the Word or worship or praying in the Spirit, and they're all good things. But when you trust Him, what He does is He'll come to you and He will say, right, this is your problem, this is what you need to do. And He may direct you to fast, He may direct you to pray in the Spirit. He'll tell you what's going on and what you need to do. And that is what I'm trying to do at the moment. I'm a really heavy sleeper, and it's really very hard for me to get up in the middle of the night. But that's where He's at right now. He's trying to get me to do that, to be able to respond when He calls me in the middle of the night to get up so we can talk. So I'm making that shift over that bridge. I want that table. I really need what's on that table. And I'm encouraging you guys to start doing this as well, because this is where we are right now. That table is available to you right now. Anything you need. Anything you need. Right? It goes beyond provision. It goes beyond needs. It goes beyond healing. You want the spiritual gifts, no worries. You want wisdom, you want knowledge. Whatever it is you need, it's there for you. So it's all about our hearts. I want you guys, well, not necessarily want you, but I encourage you. Choose something on that table. Choose something on that table. And I'm sure every one of you has got something you need or want. Alright? Choose something and make the effort that's necessary to cross that bridge. And you cross that bridge with your heart. And you simply just trust the Lord to help you. Alright? It doesn't require elaborate prayers or anything. In fact, it doesn't require any words at all. You just say, Lord, can you help me with this? That is the full extent of your prayer. And then as you begin to trust Him and trust Him deeply, your heart, in fact, begins to pray on your behalf. Your heart takes over, and it's your heart that communicates with Him. And it's your heart that facilitates everything. Okay? The key here, guys, is that you've got to learn to trust Him, because we don't know, by and large, we don't know what trust really is. We've talked about it so many times, but we don't really know what trust is. Let me tell you something. Trust is not obedience. Okay? When the Lord tells you, hey, go and minister to those homeless people under the bridge in the middle of the night, and you think, oh my goodness, I don't want to do that. That's dangerous. Alright? When He tells you to do something like that, and you say, okay, Lord, I'll go. What you've done then is you've made a decision. You've made a decision to go all in because the Lord said that. That's obedience. Okay? And obedience, by and large, is a choice between what the Lord says and what your heart wants to do. When you choose the right way, you're obedient. Okay? Obedience is not trust. Even though you know the Lord is good and He's trustworthy, that's a head thing. The trust I'm talking about is an open heart. And your heart begins to open up when you expose yourself to the goodness of God. Alright? So, the scriptures cover this in vast territories, right? There's a lot of examples in the Word. Cast your burden on the Lord and He will sustain you. Alright? Though he fall, he shall not be cast headlong, for the Lord upholds his hand. The Lord upholds you. Elena mentioned before that the Lord's in the boat with you. Alright? And we hear that, we receive that with our head, but our hearts haven't grasped that. And it's very important that your heart grasps it, because when your heart truly starts grasping that the Lord, Yeshua Mashiach, is in the same boat with you in your situation, when your heart starts to really apprehend that, it's going to start trusting Him. And it's when your heart starts trusting Him that it's going to open up. Alright? And you keep going, you keep going, you keep going. You find whatever works, whatever your heart can feed off, whatever your heart responds to, you feed your heart until it opens up more and more and more and more. Your heart begins to trust more and more and more. And as your heart begins to trust more and your trust grows, you start crossing that bridge. Okay? And you start approaching the table. You see, that's why it's not about elaborate prayers, and it's not about fasting, and it's not about anything else. It's about the heart. It's about you focusing on the heart and doing whatever it takes to open up. You expose your heart to whatever it takes to open it up in trust to the Lord. Okay? That's where the work is done. Okay? That's why it's so important what we expose ourselves to. You know, you expose yourself to the things of this world. More often than not, they corrupt the heart, they shut it up and they twist it. But when you expose your heart to the goodness, the wonder and the beauty and the love of God, it opens up because it wants more. It wants to receive more. And the more of that you do, the more you begin to cross the bridge. And you know, crossing that bridge is not optional, guys. The Lord wants us there. The Lord wants us there. Because once we get to cross that bridge, once He gets to give us everything that we want and need, we will be such powerful vessels in His hands. We need to cross that bridge. We need to cross that bridge. You know, there's some interesting verses. Where are they? Where is it? Psalm 34:8. Oh, taste and see that the Lord is good. Blessed is the man who trusts Him. I always thought, what a strange thing to say. Why taste? What's food got anything to do with how good God is? Alright? But in this context, it makes perfect sense. Come to the table. Taste everything He's got for you. When you taste what He's got for you, you are going to experience firsthand His goodness. It's no longer going to be head knowledge. It's going to be raw first-hand experience. And you know what that raw first-hand experience is going to do? It's going to reveal to your heart how good He is. And when your heart starts tasting how good God is, boy, you're going to start changing quicker than you'll realize. Alright? But there it is. It's encapsulated in one verse. Taste and see that the Lord is good. Come to the table. Blessed is the man who trusts in Him. Come to the table by trust. Come to the table by opening your heart. Now the other thing as well that I've been convinced of for a long time now, Helena framed it in those terms. Cross the bridge and come to the table. See, the thing is, when we look at Revelation 3:20, it says, "Here I am, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in and eat with that person and they with me." I believe that the bridge and the table are a parallel of Revelation 3:20. Crossing the bridge represents opening the door, but we also have dining involved, eating at the table. I believe all this time we've been learning about trust, we've been learning about the heart, we've been learning about all these things, we've been taught Karen's taught us to do so much. To clean our hearts. I believe what the Lord has been doing is leading us into Revelation 3:20, to the opening of the door. All right, and that is the beautiful and amazing thing that we're being offered right now. The amazing thing about trust in the Lord is that it grows and it evolves. It's very important that you guys try this and experiment with it, because when you try and actively trust the Lord, you're going to come up against things in your heart. Interesting things, complicated things, weird things, wonderful things. Okay? But only you know what's in your heart. Sometimes you don't even know what's there, but you need to expose it by trusting the Lord, because when you trust Him, when you try and open your heart to Him, it's only then that these things are exposed. One of the things the Lord's been trying to get me to do and get us to do is to trust Him everywhere all the time. See, what we tend to do is we tend to trust Him when we're in trouble. We tend to trust Him when we're in need, or when someone else is in need, okay? But if everything's okay, then we sort of back off a little bit. Okay, what He's trying to teach me now is trust me all the time, even when things are good. Even when you don't need anything, right? Because when you trust Him all the time, He's there with you. He's connected to you. And you may not need help, but the person you're talking to may need help. There is something about that situation you may need to know. You know, the thing is, you bring Him into everything. You bring Him with everyone when you trust Him. And by trust, I mean that deep trust, right? I don't mean that head stuff. Deep trust. Trust Him everywhere, all the time. But when you try and do that, things get exposed, right? So, for example, one of the things I've learned is a small religious mindset has popped up. Oh, I can't trust the Lord for that. That's just bothering Him, you know. That's just silly. I can't. And I've noticed my heart pull back. I can't trust Him about that. That's just nonsense. That's just silly. I can only trust Him about severely important things. But everything else I've got to try and do on my own. Right? Yeah. So that's the sort of stuff that needs to be dealt with. Right? So, I mean, there's other stuff I've got to deal with as well. Sometimes I just don't want to trust Him at all. I just don't. And I know what it is, and I've got to deal with it. So it doesn't matter how much of this teaching you've taken in. It doesn't matter how much you've learned, how much you're aware of. If you don't step into it, it is meaningless. It is meaningless. There is still a journey that has to be undertaken. We still have to cross that bridge, and that bridge is different for everyone, because you don't know what you're going to encounter as you cross that bridge. You're going to encounter stuff. You're going to deal with it, and you're going to move, and eventually you're going to find yourself at that table, and you're going to be feasting like a king. All right. Now, I'm going to finish with this, right? And this is where it comes to Paul's reaction earlier. The Lord has set a table before us, and it is available right now, not sometime in the future. And it is not limited in any way. I have no idea how long this table is, but it's long and it's big and it's got everything on it. It is available for you right now. Right? So, I'm going to give you just a minute, right? Just a minute. How do you feel about that? How do you truly, you don't have to tell me, I don't want to know. It's not for airing out in public. But how do you feel about that? How do you respond to that? How do you, deep down, your heart, what is your heart saying? You can have anything you want, everything you need. That means your financial issues are over. It means your health can be just about perfect. It means your body can be perfectly restored. You can have whatever gifts you want. Alright? You can have anything you want. I mean, the limits are with us, not with God. Alright? There are no limits to what's on the table. The limits are entirely with you. Okay? What do you want? What do you want? Do you want to meet Donald Trump? Do you want to meet Anthony Albanese? Anything you want, right? So how do you feel about that deep down? And the reason I had a laugh at Paul before is because that is pretty tantamount the perfect response. Because that response came from the heart. That's a heart that's ready and receptive to go to the table. But if your heart said something else, like, oh, I don't know, I'm not sure if I'll ever get there, or this is not going to work for me, it never works for me, it works for everyone else but not for me, or no, that's too hard, or I don't know, whatever your heart's thinking, that is an indication of the stuff you've got to deal with in order to cross the bridge. Yeah? The ideal response is the response we saw from Paul. Yay, let's go. That's it. Alright, we respond as little children. Alright, little children get invited to go to a table full of goodies. They don't question it. They don't doubt it. They celebrate and they run. Alright, that is the perfect response. Alright, so think about that and ponder that. Not to put you down or to make things difficult for you, but to give you an idea of what it is that's stopping you from crossing that bridge. Identify it. Don't let it block you and stop you. Put it down on paper. What is it exactly that's holding me back? Why am I not excited by this? Why am I not running to the table? Okay? Why? Think about it. Put words to it. And once you put it down on paper, it's going to give you something to tackle. And when you start tackling those things, you're going to start crossing that bridge. Okay? That is what we are called to, guys. And the table's available right now. So you can have whatever's on the table the moment you get there. Alright? Whether it be hours, days, weeks, whatever. However long it takes is entirely up to you. Alright? And then once you get to that table, you trust Him with bigger and bigger and bigger things. Okay? Bigger and bigger things. First it begins with your needs and the needs of your family. But then it becomes neighborhood issues. Then it becomes national issues. Then it becomes global issues. And then if the Lord wants, universal issues. Who knows? There are no limits. But that's... I met up with a friend for dinner the other night, and this guy heads up a big ministry. And I was trying to explain some of this stuff to him, and then I just stopped and I thought, no. Now this guy's a Christian, a believer, right? And he runs the Australian head of a global ministry. And it was difficult to communicate this to him. I just got a blank look. So, not to put him down, lovely guy, very committed. But what I want to say is this, what the Lord is doing with us here now is utterly, utterly, utterly extraordinary. And we cannot lose sight of that. We cannot take it for granted. The fact that the Lord has laid a table for us in front of each of us is more amazing, more powerful, more fascinating than you can possibly imagine. So we cannot waste this opportunity. Do whatever it takes to cross that bridge. Do what it takes to get to that table. And I think you'll also find that once you get started, you'll start moving. It's not going to be that hard. It's not going to be that hard. So, I think, I'll leave you on that note. Okay, thank you everyone. But if you have any questions, please let me know. I'm always happy to chat. Yeah, thank you.